Hi, I'm Rebecca Fuhrer from the Connecticut Historical Society, and we're going to be looking at some strategies for using reproduction objects and some very readily accessible objects in your classroom to talk about change over time. So I want to start with this object here. This is a reproduction of a canteen from the Revolutionary era. These kinds of objects are not very expensive. You can find them online from a variety of sources, and it makes a great jumping off point for a lesson about change over time. I would start by asking students to examine an object, look very carefully, and record all of the observations that they can make about an object. So, for instance, what is it made out of? This seems to be made out of metal. It's a light metal. They might even be able to recognize it as tin, but it has a wooden cork that fits into the top. The cork has a little pull thing on the top as well, and it's got rope tied here to create a sort of handle. And it would obviously be used for carrying liquids in while you were traveling around, possibly marching with the army. So it's not a very mysterious object, but then you can bring in a very everyday object that everyone will recognize that you can use as a comparison. So what is this? It's a plastic water bottle. And you can see right away some differences in material. Obviously in the 1700s there was no plastic, so that wasn't an option with this canteen. But this is a plastic water bottle, all plastic. It has a screw-on cap that is attached here. Maybe this originally was attached in some way as well. We don't know for sure. But there are a lot of differences. This has writing on it. It says the name of the company that made it, and also it says made in the USA, which suggests that things are made in other places than the USA, whereas a tin canteen might have been made by a whitesmith, a craftsman who was used to working with tin, right in your town or in a neighboring town. This was probably made in a factory, although in this case the factory, they say, is in the United States. Also on the bottom, in addition to made in the USA, it has an indication of a recycling symbol, which also tells us, I think, something about our interest today in recyclable materials. So whereas this canteen probably didn't have to be recyclable because you would have used it over and over again for years and years and years, I think today that having a recycling symbol tells us something about the importance of recycling, especially with plastics today. This also measures out how much liquid was in the water bottle, so obviously that's something that would have been important for whatever reason. But I think the most important stories here are the difference in production, so being made locally versus being made in a factory someplace else, and in the materials that were available. So two very simple objects that tell a story about change over time.